What is going on, everybody? Welcome back once again to Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly. I guess I should probably introduce myself. That's what good hosts do. If you are new, I am Matt. I am the host of Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly, amongst all the other fun stuff we do here. And tonight we'll be joined again, one more time, by one of our patrons of our social media sip and tier of the Patreon and the Barrel Club. Tonight we'll be joined by Chicago native Steph Jasick, and we will talk all kinds of stuff. We have topics, but we stray, as you saw last week, and often when I have guests, we stray into very interesting territory. What's going on? Chat Wes is in the house. Sarda, what's going on, man? Victor, Scorpion, what's going on, man? Eric is here as well. Abraham, DDT, welcome in, everybody. St. Pat, that's right. St. Patty's is coming up. I got a little Irish whiskey sitting back there. But before we jump into things, if you would like to be a part of something like this, or part of our barrel club where we're picking awesome single barrel selections like this Woodenville cash strength single barrel straight whiskey, or the new riff that I'm about to go pick up next week, that we all picked, a Riffle Rumble, selections like that nobody else, you can't get in Illinois because they don't sell to stores in Illinois outside of Benny's, which we'll talk about with our guest as well. So, but real quick, yes, of course, check out, my little key button didn't work. There we go. Make sure the buttons work, Matt, before we go live. That's always the thing. There we go. There's the Barrel Club, Tier 1, Tier 2. $5 gets you into the Barrel Club. It's probably the cheapest Barrel Club on the market. But come join us. Be part of our Discord, which is always lively and very supportive and cool stuff. And, of course, a quick shout out to those patrons, some of which you will see here on the show, including Steph, Jason, Eric, Jason C., Dustin, Aaron, Betsy, Tim, Mark, Joe, and Travis. Appreciate you guys. But that brings us to tonight. So let's get it on over there. Let's roll the barrels on in to our guest tonight, Steph Jasick. What is going on, Odd Urbanite? Hello and welcome, technically once again, to the live. You speaking of that Woodenville, you were on to help us pick that barrel. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Just busy day, like I said, I was telling you off air, wrapped up our interview with Matt Cardona, formerly Zack Ryder of WWE. That'll be a fun new show that we'll be doing. But good, it's after, hopefully he doesn't watch this, but after sitting down with someone who knows nothing about whiskey, it's good to reconnect with the homegrown crowd, the whiskey crowd here, and especially with a fellow Chicago native like yourself. So yeah, I mean, before we kind of jump into everything and our fun little topics, we had a game that I put out in the Discord today, and this was Steph's idea, everybody. So this is not from me. This was her idea. So if you have a suggestion, I don't care what it is, chat. I don't care what it is. Name a musical artist. And I will go down the line kind of one by one in the suggestions. And we'll go through a few of these. And it's we're a little game. If you don't, right, that's what we granted. If you don't like the artist, if you're like, I don't like him, you take a sip of whiskey. And if you do nothing. So the more terrible artists you give us, the more we will drink. So that is kind of the thing. So, you guys start listing those off, but I'll give Steph a few minutes here. Just give us a little intro, like how, where you are, which we can obviously tell by your background. Woo! But yeah, what you do, what kind of got you into whiskey and spirits, and just kind of give you the elevator pitch of, Steph.
Well, like you said earlier, I am a Chicago native. Born and raised here, currently still live here. Will probably end up living here the rest of my life unless something comes up that moves me away from here. I love the city, love everything about it. The people, the restaurants, just the neighborhoods are some of the best neighborhoods in the country or even the
Hell
world.
yeah.
I am in wine and spirits retail. I have been in it for almost 14 years now. So I do work in a management position for Binny's. And I've been in a position for about 3 years now. Wasn't really into whiskey until a few years ago. And we'll talk more about it in depth later, where I didn't see a whole lot of women representation in that category. So I decided to start investigating, talking to people I know about it, and fell in love with it.
Nice. That's awesome. Yes, absolutely. There's plenty, I'm sure, to talk about, and much of which we probably won't even get to in this. But no, that's fantastic. I'm so happy. God, I always love Chicago people. I'm so biased. But all right, so we have a couple of suggestions. Keep them coming, folks, if you want. But so first one off the bat, get your glasses ready, I guess. Is oh God, Dresden. Children of Bodom.
I don't mind them.
I'm not very familiar. I'm gonna go with yeah.
You know, okay, alrighty.
I think they're like heavy metal, right?
They are, yeah.
Not my. Ooh. Maybe I should show. Excuse me, I chose the wrong. What do you drink? What are you drinking, by the way?
Oh, I'm actually having one of the Rebel barrel picks that came out a few weeks ago. So
nice. I'm going with the Remus. This was when I went to get the Ezra pick from Binny's. This was the last Remus pick sitting on the shelf at Lincoln Park.
Oh, nice.
And I looked at the barrel, and it was a 36% high rye one, which those are always my favorite. It's like the one we picked. And yeah, maybe I should have picked, because I almost finished that Ezra doing Drunk Hemingway, which is a video I'm going to be posting to my other YouTube channel. So
I can't wait to see that. Cannot wait.
Just showed my wife today, and yeah. Anyway, okay, so that was so Children of Bodom. Okay, 1-1. Number 2 is Taking Back Sunday. Oh, I'm gonna take a small sip.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
You were very quick to do that as well.
Like, are they considered pop punk? Is that what they're considered?
Yeah, I guess. Right? Yeah, I suppose.
I'm just not a fan of that genre. I just like either be pop or be punk. I don't know if you can necessarily do both.
Were you ever did you ever have like an emo phase or anything?
No. I mean, I've been listening to music is like one of my favorite things in the world. I've been listening to music since I was a little kid. I was actually going to college to go into radio broadcasting because of music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I had a strange childhood in regards to, I was able to listen to anything that I wanted to, which is great. But just to kind of give you an idea of who I am and my age, if you were to walk into my bedroom as a teenager, they were plastered with NSYNC posters, but I also had Duran Duran and Cyndi Lauper on there. So
okay,
it's all over the place for me.
Fair enough. Okay, I appreciate an eclectic sense. I would like to consider myself, hopefully, that I have that. All right, so number 3. Oh God, I think we're gonna Nickelback.
I'm gonna take a little sip.
That's a guaranteed sip for me. Yeah, I'm not a fan. So I take it by when you say little sip, maybe is there a song or two that you like?
I think they know that they're ironic and that people don't like them.
Really?
They keep just like, why would you keep making records if you know you're not?
Well, so this is the age-old question, and like I get this, and we've had this discussion in wrestling and stuff, kind of thing. I don't think it's a thing about whether they know, does popularity equate quality,
Right.
right? So like maybe they think they are good, or they figure, well, if as long as people are buying their albums and they're making good money, they must be doing well. So I don't know. I don't know if it's that they can. Do you really think that they think or know that I mean, they must know they're made fun of by a
Oh,
large sect of the
I'm sure.
populace.
I'm sure they know. I'm hoping
Yeah,
that you have a good sense of humor about it, but you never know.
right. Because I would imagine. I mean, that's been kind of like I feel like a internet joke and everything about them for a while, so they must
Oh,
be aware of it. But this and the flip side of that coin, there is still a huge swath of people who like them. So
oh
like
yeah,
again, they are making money.
yeah.
So
I'm sure if they were one of the first bands to go on tour again, I'm sure they'd sell out because people are itching to get out of the house. But
oh
I
my
don't know if
god,
people would want
yes.
to go to that.
I'll take a Nickelback concert for that, sure.
I will take Nickelback over Taking Back Sunday.
Okay,
It's
okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we'll do a couple more. Let me kind of go through the list. Ooh, I like that one, Sardak. Okay, so Steel Panther.
I've seen them twice or three times in concert.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, I haven't, but you know what?
Yeah.
I respect a good freaking 80s style hair band.
It's an interesting show, and it gets a little weird towards the end where you're like, all right, I'm drunk enough to where I might either enjoy this or just not like it. It's
Yeah.
usually time to go home at that point. So
So, but I mean, if you've gone back multiple times, you must have enjoyed it a little bit.
well, I've gone to like music fest where they're like one of the bands and I
Okay.
just happened to be there, and it wasn't like, all right, well, I'm just gonna leave. I'm like, I'll see a couple of their songs. They're that band that, unlike Nickelback, they know that what they are.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they're gonna
yes.
talk
They
about it.
embrace the crap out of it.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Oh, I know. Like for the wrestling, Dolph Ziggler is a huge Steel Panther fan.
Yeah.
Like,
I
oh
mean,
yeah,
it makes so much sense.
they lean right into. They know their gimmick, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, we'll do one or two more of these. Um, yeah, let's do that. This will be an issue. I think this will be divisive. Oasis.
I like Oasis. Really?
Small sip caveat.
Okay.
So, like Oasis was big in high school. Like it was a classic. Like I played in a band in high school, and we played Oasis covers and everything. And as overplayed as Wonderwall was, I actually do enjoy it as a song. But I have a little bit of a raw spot in my heart because I don't know if it's one or both, but one of the brothers, like the lead singer, is kind of an asshole.
Yeah, is it Noel
And
or Liam? I forget which one. Or
I think it's Liam.
Yeah.
It was the one, and I think it might have only been like the one time, but it's grown into such a story, and it's the kind of thing as a performer that I hate that any other performer would do this,
Mhm.
but there were stories of when they would do Wonderwall, and the crowd would sing along. He would stop the concert and tell them to shut up. It's not their song; it's his song. So you don't sing. We sing for you, kind of thing.
Okay.
And like and maybe he was drunk, I don't know, but things like that. I'm like, how do you turn away? It's like I can't imagine being in like the wrestling and be like, whoa, stop chanting my name. Like that I'm performing now, you don't chant my name. Shut up. Like and can you imagine that? So like those stories would rub me the wrong way. So
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Okay. I'll
little
give you
little
that
little sip. All right, one last one. I'm trying to think. There's a couple here. I like that one. Who just gave it? Yeah, I like that one. Scorpion. Electric Light Orchestra.
one. Ooh, I love those guys.
Yes. Okay. Good. Me too. I figured that would be a fun one to end on. That's an agreement. ELO, man.
Saw them
can't
2 years
go-
ago in concert. Jeff
Really?
still does it. Yes, they were fantastic.
That's awesome.
So good. So good. One of the best shows I've seen in like the last 5-10 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome. All right. Well, I mean, victory sip. Cheers. Thanks for playing. Thank you for the suggestions, everybody.
I thought they were going to get really weird, especially with Dresden in the chat. So, but thankfully not.
Take that, Dresden.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, but let's get into a little bit of like why we are here and so on and so forth. So, there's always a lot of topics about, but you were the one who kind of mentioned it because originally I had come to you like when I kind of set up this opportunity for people on the Patreon. I'd kind of come to you and asked if you want to do, and you kind of weren't sure, but then you came back and you know what? I do want to talk because we could talk about things like this, like women in the alcohol industry and in the business in general.
Sure.
And I think that's awesome. And so, and as you pointed out, though, it's kind of funny. Like I think in our barrel club, which we have like 70 members or something like that, I believe. No, we might have one more now, but you were the only woman for a long time.
Yeah.
And now I think we did have another woman join. But man, like not that number, and we're like a small microcosm, I feel like, of the whiskey scene at all, where it's so overrun with men, and I would even argue, generally speaking, like white men, kind of thing, that it could use a big injection of diversity and stuff like that. So, where do you think we stand right now as far as and we can kick this beyond whiskey because I think it's industry wide. So where do you feel like we stand right now as far as female representation in the alcohol industry?
I think it's getting better, but I still think there's a lot more road to take. From when I started in the industry almost 14 years ago to now, yes, it has grown so much where you're seeing women in all aspects of the industry. You're seeing female, brewers and distillers and, a lot more women being represented in wine as well, where typically that was kind of where a lot of women would, I think, typically would go towards because it seemed more easier to flock to. But now with like beer and spirits, particularly whiskey, I think a lot more women are becoming more comfortable, and I think there's a lot more support out there for women to start getting more interested in it and actually enjoying it and realizing it isn't, just a man's drink.
No kidding. I think there's so much marketing, or there certainly was, and maybe it's changed a little bit. So much marketing around whiskey that's so masculinely driven.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the bearded guy in the leather chair with a cigar and everything, like, oh, and it's all, cool imagery. I get it, but it's all super masculine driven, and for a long time, and it's hard. I feel like it still is. I mean, to be fair, even in the, as far as from like a marketing perspective, I still, we can have our news stories about like everything you said, like there's, master distillers and brewers and everything like that. But I feel like still there's so much of the marketing is aimed solely at men.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of women that are involved. And from how I see it, a lot of women aren't involved in marketing decisions. And I think if that were true, I think it would be a little bit more diverse. But it's just one of those things that we have to slowly, chip away at.
Yeah. So I mean, from your perspective, from what and I'm not like, I was thinking about this earlier today, like some of the questions I wanted to ask, and I don't want to sound like I'm like, I don't know what the word, like fishing for controversy or fishing for tragic stories or like, oh, tell me how, but I am just kind of curious, even in the small, microcosm example of working in retail, the retail side of liquor and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Did you ever run into anything where maybe like you were trying to help a customer, a male customer, and they, or either you felt like that maybe they dismissed your opinion or something like that when you were trying to help somebody with a recommendation or something like that?
Yeah, I actually have a really great example of that. So a few years ago, when I was working at one of the locations, was at the service desk. A gentleman came up to me, approached me, asked me if he could help me find a bottle. I said sure. Um, Started describing what he was looking for, things like that, and all of a sudden he just stopped talking. And said, "I'm like, is everything okay?" He There was a colleague of mine who's male who literally just was walking past. He stops, turns away from me, and is immediately just starting the same conversation over again, bat to bat, because I was the first person he saw, but I was not the person he wanted to talk to.
And like, so did he just totally like leave you and
Yeah.
just like turn his back on you and was like, all right, never mind. I'm going to talk to the dude.
Yeah, literally just like looked straight past me, started talking to my colleague behind me, and just completely ignored me after that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, like that's what I mean. I'm like this. I do. That's the funny. Like you pointed it out right there. Like he came to you though. Like so he walked into the store and decided, at least for an instant, like okay, well this is a professional person or whatever. I'm going to go and ask for their advice.
Mm-hmm.
But then the minute they saw a man walking by, that's ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, beyond just basic human like courtesy of just like ignoring you and just like walking away. But
Sure.
then yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's probably like one of the prime examples that I have, just kind of
Yeah.
working in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I was thinking about too, like, and how much do you think? Because you're right. Obviously, we've seen a lot of stories, a lot of, there has been a lot of media, like I said, maybe not marketing, but a lot of media coming out about female master distillers, brand owners, so on and so forth. I'm thinking, in fantastic examples, I was looking at something about Fawn Weaver today.
Oh, fantastic.
She's amazing. Not, yeah, absolutely. So she's the owner of Uncle Nearest, and so not a woman owned and minority owned and everything, which is fantastic. But you got to wonder, where does the role of like have you thought about like the role of tokenism a little bit? Like it's like, hey, sometimes I feel like let's pick those 4 or 5 people and we'll put a spotlight on them for 6 months or whatever, and like, or do you think, does that help? Does any representation help? And how do you balance that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, representation in any way, in an industry is great. I think it's just a matter of, people who are, like, say the media who's showing it, typically will show it for a little bit and then kind of go away from that. I think somebody like Fawn Weaver and Peggy No Stevens, I think they're great at getting out there and saying, hey, we are here. We know what we're talking about. Let's get other women and people of color and other people who are not represented in the industry out there to the best of our ability, because we know a lot of other people aren't going to. And I think that's what's great about, Fawn and Peggy alike.
Yeah. No, I had the chance. I had the chance to meet Peggy. She is a spitfire, force of nature, like and the nicest person too you could ever meet.
Yeah.
What a great Carla Carlton is another one. If I could shout somebody else out, but and then of course people like Marianne Barnes. I mean, I know more from the distilling side. You mentioned women in brewing and everything too, which is becoming more and more, which is great. So I'm going to talk. There's one more thing I want to jump into. I do want to talk about. You've done some like women whiskey picks, like for, I'm not sure if it's a Benny's thing or whatever. We'll get to that. I'm kind of want to close on that, but I do want to touch on something that I would be very curious to get your opinion on from a woman's perspective, and that's because even I go back and forth on it, and I have an interesting. It's conflicting. So like we're talking now, the media we were talking about before, Nowadays, what is the media? It's Instagram, right? And
Mhm.
so I know this has been big in like the beer world, but it's been carrying over into like the whiskey media world too. So there's a lot of female influencers, right? And the beer and whiskey side. And I think they're, who use a lot of glamour shots and who are kind of, they're showing some skin and stuff sometime, things like that. We know the accounts and we know the style. I mean, and this type of influence goes male, goes female, and on many kinds of business, but it's of particular focus in alcohol and everything. Where do you sit on the idea of like, is it someone just using their body to get likes and follows and something like that, or is it empowering? Is it distracting? Is it exploitative? Where do you fall on that fence? I know that's a heavy, wide open question,
Mhm.
but I figure it's worth kind of discussing.
Well, I mean, you look at it from a female perspective, majority of my life, especially when I started younger, it's like, you have to act a certain way. Otherwise, you aren't seen as a girl or a woman. And sometimes that gets ingrained in you to where, you have to learn like you don't have to do this to prove who you are, you know. But at the same time, I think a lot of women nowadays are using their sexuality and using that as empowerment um, for them, just as in a body positive sense, and just as like owning that part of themselves, rather than someone trying to use it against them or use it, in a way to where women are being over sexualized and just kind of reclaiming that power back.
Yeah. No, I feel like, I mean, the double standards keep rearing their ugly heads
Hmm.
kind of thing. I mean, we see it like in one of, for many of you out there, one of the other things I do is like Twitch streaming. And I feel like the same thing sometimes happens over there. Like there's the classic, oh, this person has a lot of followers or whatever, well, just because it's a girl and she wears a low cut top or something like that. Right. Um, I just, I wish more people could see it in that light. This idea that like how much ex how really think about what you're the people who let's take two on that. That musician game knocked it out of me. Yeah, cheers. Um, but just how many people, if oh god, it wasn't anybody who downplays like a woman who's taking the power, who's taking her sexuality back for God forbid a positive thing. You know what I mean? It's this thing men celebrate in shadows. Like, oh yeah, and all want to look at it. But the minute a woman comes out public and he's like, hell yeah, I'm proud of this, and like I'm confident in X Y Z, then we have to rain down shame upon them. But it's the classic thing, man. If people could just men, like, if that was a man doing the same exact thing, would you be commenting on the same kind of crap? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you could have two very similar posts on social media, one being male, one being female, and just compare and contrast the comments that they both get.
Yeah.
Guy on Instagram, you know, posing, with no shirt on, getting a bunch of likes and about a bunch of, eye wink emojis, whereas, a woman, posing, either in a swimsuit or anything and getting comments, all over the place about, this is inappropriate, you should be ashamed of yourself, there's kids, blah blah blah. It's like, it's it's been like this since I've been alive,
Yeah.
and I've been around for quite a bit. I mean, I'm not old, but I've been around enough to where it's like I've gone through at least a few generations where it's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
This has been change where women are, reclaiming who they are, but at the same time, a lot of that is still around.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, that's something. Yeah, that's something. And being in the social media space and everything like that needs to change to
Yeah.
me ASAP. It's absolutely ridiculous. But all right, I wanted your take on that. Flip it back to like I mentioned before. So I remember you through. I know you've done them with Benny's. Some of these. I don't know the exact like name of your guys' group over the was it Women in Whiskey or Whiskey Women or something like that. That you guys had done a couple picks and things like that. Tell me a little bit about how that process came to be.
So back in 2018, I had just been promoted to the position that I'm in now, which is assistant manager. And I received an email from one of our corporate spirits guys saying, you and a few other women in the company have been selected to go down to represent Benny's for the Bourbon Women Exposition. And including with that, we are going to have you pick out a barrel with Old Forester that we are going to sell in our stores.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was extremely exciting for me. I had probably just a couple years in and getting familiar with whiskey and enjoying it. So I was like, holy crap, this is awesome.
What was that like? I mean, how was that experience?
It was amazing. Uh, Real story, it was my first time on an airplane. So yeah,
Really?
yeah. That
Wow.
was like the most anxious thing. The thing that I was worrying about the most was like, this is gonna be. I'm like racking my brain. I'm just like getting super nervous, and I'm like, it was an hour and a half flight because we were just going from
Yeah.
Chicago to Louisville. I'm like this. I'm like, oh, this was nothing. I have nothing to worry about now, I guess. But it was great. There was 7 of us that went, and I knew some of them. I had known their name because they worked in the company. But we were on a trip for 5 days together, and we, got to go to the Bourbon Women Conference. We got to go to a few of the distilleries in the area. We got to have dinner on Maker's estate, just outside of
Oh God,
Louisville.
that's beautiful.
It's so gorgeous. Just they had everything set outside. It was perfect, and there were a couple little spots where we can go out and enjoy ourselves, but it was basically just work. But it didn't feel like it, just because we were just immersing ourselves in something that everyone loved.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. I gotta ask, do you have any bottles of that left? Did you store some?
No,
No.
no,
Oh.
and they were both really good. Like maybe 6 months later, a few of us that were in that group, we decided to go to Bourbon Fest in New Orleans together
Nice.
for a trip just outside of work, and we actually brought one of the bottles with, and we were only there for maybe 4 days, and it did not make its way back.
Yeah, usually trips to New Orleans kind of tend to work out like that. I find.
It wasn't as bad. It was my first time there. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but there was like, all right, I wish we didn't really, you know, hung out all night at at places, because I mean, it gets you. That Bourbon Street sucks you in.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's a lovely and it's a cruel mistress.
Yes.
Um, the other thing I wanted to ask about too, and I don't think it's related to the bourbon women thing, but you also had gotten the chance to you just recently not too long ago posted about it in social media. I think it was like a year ago. You got to go and pick some or help pick some tequila, or was it just kind of a chance to study some tequila down in Mexico?
No, yeah, it was through Benny's. It was Patron and invited a few of us to go down to their property in Jalisco to pick barrels and stay on their amazing, amazing property. I can't describe how incredible this place was.
How long were you guys there?
Only a day and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And this was back mid-February last year, so a month before everything got shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was my first time getting a passport. It was a lot of first in the last few years for
Yeah,
me.
no kidding. Whiskey,
Um,
the spirits industry has given you a lot of firsts.
it really has, yeah. But we went down on a Wednesday and we're back on a Friday. It was a really, really short trip. I wish we could have stayed longer, but kind of the itinerary that they have there at Patron is kind of to rotate to get more groups in. I'm sure they're not doing it right now, but it was incredible, and I'd fallen in love with tequila before whiskey and kind of forgot about it once I was getting into whiskey. But and I know Patron is a well-named brand. A lot of people kind of dismiss it because they feel it's overproduced. I was blown away by their production and just by the barrels that they have in the Roca Patron that they do an amazing job on. There's some really good tequila that they're making, and
Yeah.
they are extremely eco-friendly. They pretty much use all of the agave fiber that they use. They give it to farmers around the town. But they also use it for their own on-property farm that they have. So they grow all their food there that they use for people staying. They eat
Oh,
pretty much all the food that they use to make for the people who are staying there. So it's they're doing their part for the environment, and I tip my hat to them for that.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like that's the kind of thing you would never. I know I would never guess that from something like Patron and everything. So like, we're kind of veering into tequila real quick here, but like, so you were picking barrels for Benny's.
Mhm.
Um, so then was that like their añejo, like they're aged? I mean, are these whiskey finish? Are they, what kind of barrels do they use? I don't know. I've always been curious about like barrel picked tequilas because not all tequila is also barrel aged.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, we did just Reposado Añejo, and a lot of it is being finished in like American oak, some of it in like a Hungarian wood, which kind of really changes it up. So they take samples.
Are these used barrels or are they fresh charred barrels or what?
I believe they're all used barrels. I'll
Okay.
have to double check my notes that I have, but pretty much barrels that they use. I think it might be some new, but don't quote me on that. But I mean, they're pulling samples from the barrels that they think are the best, and we're trying, all these samples, and we were able to pick five. Um, which,
Nice.
yeah, and so we sold them in stores, and thankfully when those got released, there was a shortage, just with all the distillery shutting down production because of the pandemic. So, a lot of people were able to enjoy these barrel picks. They normally were people shy away from who aren't familiar with barrel picks. So people who are typically just straight Patron drinkers who want what they want,
Hmm.
we were able to sell them barrel picks, and I've had people come like, "Hey, that was really good. Do you have more of that?" It's like, no, sorry, this was a one and done deal, and I really wish there was more that we could give to customers, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It's kind of cool. I mean, like, I don't know. I legit don't know where like single barrel picks started. But I feel like it must have been in whiskey, like
Yeah.
as a concept. But it's cool. It's kind of going to like everything now. You got single barrel rums, single barrel tequilas, single barrel like Armagnacs and cognacs and stuff like that. I don't think we'll be seeing single barrel vodkas anytime soon, but just because that actually doesn't exist. But
Yeah.
who
There's,
knows?
there's barrel picks of Malort out there if anyone's interested.
Yes, there is. I
Yeah.
saw them at Benny's the other week when I was getting my other stuff. Honestly, I almost grabbed it until I saw the Remus. I was like, may as well take a shot at it.
Yeah.
Um, but so like looking forward, so you in the position you're in, I've talked to you before, like you said, you're very happy with where you've been and what you've done with Benny's. Obviously, some of the experiences you've told us so far. What do you for your future? What do you want to continue in the spirits business? Do you want to stay with Benny's? Would you like to work for a brand or a distillery or a brewery or something like that? I mean, maybe it's 2020/2021 and we're all just going Monday to Tuesday. I don't know. But yeah, like where do you see yourself kind of moving along in this business?
I mean, this past year, just working from a retail experience, it's been difficult. We've stayed open the entire duration of the pandemic, so But on the flip side, I've learned a lot about myself and like what I want to do and how I want to continue down my career path. And I would love to stay with Benny's, as much as I can. If there's an opportunity that comes out, whether it be working with a distributor or even working with a distillery, I would love to take, a chance on that. But I mean, for right now, I enjoy working for Benny's and where I'm at. And the goals that I'm setting myself that I hopefully can achieve in the next 2, 3, 5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I mean, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on, and we like, it's not always the most popular thing, but I like it's whiskey and all these whiskey podcasts and YouTube. Everyone just likes to have drinks and like joke around, and it's fun. And we've done, trust me, we did some of that with your damn music suggestions, Dresden. but I also like to get into the weeds sometimes and cover some, pardon my French, some real shit. You know what I mean? Like, I think people need to, because otherwise things don't change if you don't talk about it. So I appreciate you coming on and being able to be at the risk of being presumptuous, but being a little bit vulnerable and like being able to kind of cross into that territory a little bit and just sharing your story and everything. I appreciate that stuff.
Yeah, I thank you so much for having me on. I had a really good time just talking about the industry that I love and where I think it can go next.
Hell yes, because there's plenty of opportunity. Hopefully we see more women, more. We didn't even touch on it. I mean, it's not our area necessarily of expertise, but I mean, not only women, people of color are starting to, pop more into the whiskey industry and stuff like that. Hopefully that trend does continue. But for now, I mean, I have listed it right here on the stream. Your Instagram is at Odd Urbanite. Is there anywhere else you want people to come find you, or is that it?
I'm there. Twitter is the same handle, Odd Urbanite. That's where you can find me as well.
So,
yeah.
Hell yeah! All right. Well, everyone, check out Steph. Always a lively conversation. Always awesome, fantastic support for everything we've done here, and you're always welcome on the Wrestling with Whiskey environment and channel. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoy being here, Matt.
Hell yeah. You stay there for a second. I'm going to close the show and I'll be back with you in a minute.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, everyone, like I said, I like to get real every now and then. The show it's all about having fun, and we're all about it. This is our hobby, but shit gets real sometimes. You know what I mean? And I like talking about that stuff, and it's worthwhile to discuss it and not just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, let's get me some Weller 12. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really worthwhile discussing. So I really appreciate Steph coming on. Thank you, everybody, for being here again. Really, really quick. One more time, there's the information. If you want to join the Barrel Club, potentially be a part of one of these episodes, and or help us pick barrels as we go forward, please jump on there. Patreon.com/wrestlingwithwhiskey. There are our social media sipping patrons, the people who help go the extra mile to help us with some of the things that we do. Really quick before I go, the first episode of Straight Shooting with Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, will be up next Monday. I will get that out to you guys. Patrons will get to see it early. And also next Wednesday, there will not be an episode of this show. I will be down in Newport, Kentucky. I'm doing the annual Whiskey Mania pick with my buddies Tony Frank and Greg Hamilton. So that's going on Wednesday. So there will be no show. I will be driving back from that. But in the good news, I will be picking up your bottles for those who participated in the Wrestling with Whiskey new riff pick that we did back in January. So get ready for that. So the next time I will see you live will be 2 weeks from tonight. But we also have a Ben Reich 21-year review coming to the channel. We have that talk with Matt Cardona coming to the channel. There'll be stuff to keep you busy. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate every time, every minute you spend with us. But until next time, take care of each other. make sure to look for more diversity in whiskey, and always, 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 always be wrestling with whiskey. I'll see you guys on the next one.